I'm going to be presenting the same presentation I did last week in Toronto at the PDAC and the Investor Forum. Maybe if any of you were there, you'll recognize it. The talk is specifically about our San Pietro Copper-Gold-Iron-Cobalt project in Chile. We're looking right now at a picture of this showing our Rincones deposit. That's the area of the main resource estimate that I'm going to be talking about. As I mentioned, this is specifically about San Pietro, but we do have a lot of other things going on in Argentina and portfolio projects, but that will be for another presentation. Now, if I could just figure out how to turn the page. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. There we go. Cautionary notes. I will be making some forward-looking statements. This is just a standard disclaimer, and you've all been warned. Investment highlights. I think when anybody's looking at a project or investment into junior mining, I think the main things that you want to look at are the people behind the projects and the projects. People and projects are what are most important. We've got a team of experienced people under the direction of Joe Grosso since 1993 with a lot of successes to our name. Projects, as I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about our flagship project, our San Pietro project in Chile, which we put out a resource estimate last week or the end of the week before, and we're very happy about that, of 2.5 billion pounds of copper and 770,000 ounces of gold, and that's growing, and we're going to talk about that. And again, as I mentioned, we have an active exploration portfolio of projects in Argentina right now that are either under option, some very interesting deals there, in fact, and a bunch of others that are available if anybody's looking to joint venture. And we got to where we are right now, the value from our success in the past, and again, under part of the Grosso Group, we have a sister company, Blue Sky Uranium, which recently signed a deal with COAM for $35 million earn-in on their project uranium project in Rio Negro. And last year, our other sister project, our company, Argentina Lithium, signed a deal with Stellantis for $90 million in a lithium play in Argentina. And then as part of the Golden Arrow group, we've had some successes. Our one most recent was going back to 2018 when we made a deal with Silver Standard to sell our Chinchilla silver project. And that gave us money to go shopping for other projects. And we looked around, we spent time in Paraguay, we looked at other projects in Latin America and in Chile, and we ended up coming up with our San Pietro project, which again is our flagship project. It's an IOCG, copper, gold, iron, oxide, and cobalt project in kind of the Mecca area of Argentina for IOCG projects. It's a lot of big mines and things in that area, and it's got all of the things that are popular and needing right now, battery metals and copper, and it's just a really good place to be working. And our project is really in the midst of giants. The dark blue is the San Pietro project, the middle of the screen there that you can see. And we're surrounded by capstone projects. We got the Manto Verde mine immediate to the west, and their project of Sierra Norte to the north, and Santo Domingo, which is part of an integration plan with Manto Verde immediately to the east. You know, further to the south, we've got Candelaria, and there's some other mines in the area. And as you could imagine, with all of this activity in the area, the infrastructure and everything to mine and develop projects is really second to none. And that actually includes on our property itself. Again, this is a shot of the Rincones target area. Very, very attractive place to be working. We've got a paved highway that runs right through the project, a power line over top of the property, and the Diego del Magro, the little town to support infrastructure, place to stay. I mean, we actually can go in there for lunch. It's only 8 kilometers away. The project itself is an IOCG mineralization project, very similar to the others. There's a lot of similarities between IOCG projects, but there are a lot of differences as well. Mostly these are mineralization in mantos with iron oxide magnetite. They occur in mantos. They can be in structures, and they're very common in this area. This little cartoon on the bottom of the picture here shows an east-west section, and it's very telltale for what we're looking at right now. And on the east, we have the Santo Domingo deposit, which has iron-rich mantos mostly in the Santo Domingo project. And then on the west side, it's much more structurally controlled, and you have some intrusives, but you go from this mostly sedimentary type stratigraphic type deposits into something that's much more structure. And San Pietro project that sits right between the middle, we represent a transition zone between the two. And so we actually find that we have mantos deposits and we have structure deposits, and it's just a really good place to be right now. Looking at the at the project area itself, this orange outline in the middle of the project there, that represents our San Pietro area that we have. We have 20,000 hectares of concession, and you can see on the east there, but butted right up against it is Santo Domingo, and to the west, only a kilometer away in the north is Manto Verde. The purple area in the middle, you can see that's the actual footprint of the resource area that we've announced, and you can see that I mean it's a very small part of our whole project that we're actually got the resource defined. The little green dots in there are drill holes that have been drilled, and they are concentrated. And our plan was to put out a resource estimate at Rincones and then expand from there. And we did that. We had a fixed program whereby we were going to drill up to 10,000 meters, and at the end of that program, we had to put out a resource estimate, and we fulfilled that. We did the resource estimate is an inferred resource. We drilled that to a maximum spacing that we could and still call it a resource. So it's at a base of about a 200-meter drill spacing. We have some areas that it's tighter, but that still managed us to put out this resource, and we were very happy when we did it. One of the real advantages of having a project that's just finished a feasibility study and an active mine on the other side is that we've got real numbers to use and to compare. And so when we built the model to do the resource estimate, we used all of the same numbers and figures that they used at Santo Domingo, and we calculated an NSR based on the same prices that they had, and then this is what we came up with, and at a grade of at a cutoff grade of 0.3. We got 492 million tons of 0.41 equivalent copper, 0.23 copper, 0.05 grams per ton gold. Cobalt and iron, they represent big opportunities for us, and we have a lot more work to do on the recovery of those. But that gave us 2.5 million pounds of copper and 770,000 ounces of gold. So it's a really good place to be starting from. To put this into maybe a little better context, again, we're looking at the deposits. This is a very active area, and just off to the south of us, there's an area that right now that First Quantum is drilling. To the southwest, you've got Tribeca, another junior, has currently got a drill program going on. They've got activities going on in Santo Domingo and us, but you can see how we all kind of sit in this one area together, and we have a good portion of that property. But if you go to the left here and you look at these numbers, and this is important because one of the questions I was getting about our grades and all this kind of stuff, and it's important to understand that when Santo Domingo put out their numbers, they're dealing with measured and indicated. So they've gone through a definition drilling stage where they've outlined their high grade and stuff, and you can see they've come up with 547 million tons, 0.3 copper and 0.04 grams per ton gold. We came up with a number in the ballpark, 492 million tons, 0.23, and we actually have higher gold on our property. But when we go in here and we do our infill drilling, we will for sure bring up the grade of the copper, and people are going to be surprised at how much more gold we have here than there. That's been a real pleasant surprise. This is moving forward. We have so many opportunities. Looking here on the right side of the screen, the purple again. This is our Rincones footprint of the resource estimate. You've got the Rincones areas, and then to the south we've got a little area there that's we refer to as Koya, and that's a very high cobalt and iron target. But it still did report to the resource, and the little yellow rectangle, if you look at that, that's the blow up on the left-hand side. And the reason we included this in here is just to show that we have these thick mantos, and you can see through this cross section where we have over 100 meters of 0.43 copper, 0.09 gold, and it runs and it's continuous across the property. And so we've got several of these mantos that make up the higher grade area that we need to define. And again, that'll be part of our follow-up drill program. And the other thing is that in Rincones, as I mentioned earlier, we drill this to we drill this to a spacing that we'd be able to put out an inferred resource, and it was designed to be big, and then understand that we would need to go back in. But near the end of the program, we were looking at this hole called SP drill hole number 6 here, which is in about the middle of the plot. And we stepped out, about 400 meters, and we hit over 300 meters of 0.19. We got another hole there of 122 meters of 0.35, or I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was a big step out, and we drilled 3 more holes in this area, and it allowed to extend our resource back significantly. And we wanted to keep drilling, but we had a commitment to put out the resource estimate. But you can see in the little diagram here on the left, where you've got the little yellow again rectangle where this section has been taken, where we expanded it. And it doesn't take too much imagination to see that we will expand this down into Koya and add significantly to the resource there. And the resource is still open in all directions here. So it's going to get bigger. That would be one of those forward-looking statements. But there's no doubt in my mind that we're just getting going. And that's in Rincones. And in Rincones, we believe that we're going to expand that area. I could go into more detail about some of the things we see structurally and where those are directed. But we've got five other targets. Mariposa and Rodeo, we've done some work, we've done some drilling, and they've got really good intersections. Mostly those are for near surface, low strip ratio oxide. The other projects in the area are looking for oxide, so we know that once we define oxide, that even if, when we think of future plans in here, we could actually be sending these to other plants. So that's an opportunity. But so we've got these near oxide surface areas just north of Rincones. We've got an area that's it follows absolutely the same high magnetic signature from the geophysics, and it's just a little bit deeper. So we need to investigate that. And the other thing is to the south. This has been a big discovery for this year, and this is our guys that were working on the ground. We discovered this area called Noemi, and got some very good samples, some interesting ground geophysics, and some good samples and mapping. Want to go drilling there, and Lolita Norte to the west. The big surprise in there was the high gold values, and so we'll be watching. We showed Tribeca just off the side, and First Quantum just off the south are drilling. So it's going to be interesting to see how that ties in. And then we have this whole other area that's is untested. There's been really no work. There's a lot of cover on there, but we're dealing again with this transition zone between Santo Domingo and Mantoverde. So it's who knows what we're going to find. So that's where we're looking at here. As far as our plan, resource delineation, this is going on right now. We've completed the mineral resource, our inferred resource. We've put that out. We're in the process now of compiling the 43-101. We've got 45 days to submit that. We need to get it in by mid-April. We're working on the results that we have and putting together our next phase of exploration. That's going to include drilling these areas that we see have potential to understand there. To do some more detailed drilling within the Rincones areas and define the higher grade zones and move those towards indicated at least. I mentioned briefly the iron and the cobalt because we had the benefit of closology and all of the information from Santo Domingo. We did not do a metallurgical test program for this estimate, but we will do that in the future, and that represents a real opportunity of value. I believe the number at Santo Domingo is 33% of their value is made up in the iron. So it's definitely something we want to understand. We've been aggressive in our permitting. We've completed the EIA and we've made applications for 80 more platforms. That's in the process, and we expect to have those permits awarded here in the next couple of months. So, we're moving fast. I believe we're just getting started on Santo Domingo. I mean, all of this is going to depend on funding and how we move this forward. With the release of our resource estimate, we've got a lot of options right now that we're considering. We'll see how that all plays out, but that's hopefully going to be the news coming out in the near term. So that's our San Pietro project. As I mentioned, we do have company maker projects in Argentina, and they're worth taking a look at too. You can see those on the website. You can call or send me an email or send one to Sean, and be happy to follow up with you. And that's the presentation for today, and I'm very happy to answer any questions you may have.